Hi, it's Mr. David. I'm here at home missing you and our time together in art class. I'm looking forward to creating art projects that you can do with me at home. Each week, we'll talk about the project, then we'll go to the art table for demonstration circle. Today, we're going over materials and what you have around the house to work with. We'll talk about our first project, which relates to what we've already done in class. Let's get started. All right, art friends. Today our project for this week, week 1, is going to be more of our abstract art. I know we talked about abstract art being something that's a picture of nothing. So the word we used was non-representational, which means that you're going to have a picture using shapes and lines that really is sort of about you emotionally, or something that just comes out of your brain, and you're going to create a piece of art with that. And I have an example here that I've done already that was something we did in the classroom. We used, I don't know if you remember, we used templates, these little templates. We used some things that were shapes that we'll talk about in a minute, that are objects from around the house, but we used our circles and our lines to create our different shapes. Some of the shapes went off of the page, some of the lines were straight, some of them were freeform, however you wanted to make them. So we had lines and shapes, and then we used our coloring to color in. We used, this one I used colored pencil. I filled it in with colored pencil. We also used crayon, we used marker. If you remember, we used the colored pencil and the crayon for the bigger areas, and the marker, if you want to use marker, for the smaller areas. But let's talk about materials for a second. So I have around the house, I don't have a whole lot of markers, but I have colored pencils, I have crayons, and I have pens. I have pencils. I happen to have a Sharpie, but if you don't have a Sharpie, that's okay. You can use crayon, you can use a colored pencil, you can use a dark colored pencil. This one's a black one, or you could use a purple one like this. So whatever dark pencil you have, you can use that. Let's see. Also, I have some thin pens you can use. Also good to have an eraser. So if you don't have this kind of an eraser, you can use the eraser on your pencil if it's a good one. If not, I know we talk about sketching. Don't worry so much about the erasing. It's more about the creation of the art paper. We need something to do our work on. So what I'm gonna have you do is, if you have some white printer paper, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold it in half, and your parents can help you with this if you need. So I know, and also your parents can join you and they can do this project with you if they want. So we fold the paper in half, and then you can either tear it by just folding the paper nice and sharp, and then you can rip it on the edge of the table. I will cut it with my scissors. And if you have big scissors like this, you can have your parents help you cut it too, because I know sometimes big scissors are hard to use. But if you have some scissors, but if you don't, you can just tear it like I showed, maybe more carefully than I did, because mine ripped a little bit. So then we have 2. So we can do 2 different ones. So the first one, you can do like we did before. You can find shapes around. If you have circles, you can do circles. If you want to do lines, you can do lines, and then do one like we did in class. Or you can go around the house and find some objects to trace around. So I'm going to go around my house and find some objects to trace around, and you can do the same thing, and then I'll meet you back here at the demonstration table. All right. So I found a few things that are things I found around the house. I found this mint tin. I found a spatula. I got this in my drawer. And make sure it's okay with your parents to use these things, because sometimes when we trace around things, we get some crayon or marker on them, but we try our best. So make sure it's okay with your parents. I found this goldfish food container. So I can use these as my templates. And then we talked about templates, and a template is anything that you can trace around. So we use these for our templates for our art. So I'm gonna start with this mint tin, and I'm gonna use, let's see, I use my Sharpie to go around the mint tin, and it doesn't have to be perfect to make a line. And then I can use the same tin to make another line. So I can use that as many times as I want, or then I can transfer and switch and use another object. So these are, I think this is a rice paddle. Use this for rice. And like I said, some of your lines should go off the page. Ooh, and I got a little Sharpie on it. Uh-oh, but I'm sure it will wash right off. All right, so use your shapes. And if you don't want to get ink or marks on your templates, because there's something you don't want to mark on, you can use a crayon, or you can use a colored pencil. And I know we've used black colored pencils before. And if you have colored pencils, crayons, it just depends on what you have around the house. So you use your colored pencil, and then the colored pencil doesn't get on things. So I've used my templates, and then I can add lines if I want. I don't think I want to add lines to this one because there's a lot of stuff going on. Let's see. So then once I've done that, I've got my drawing, and then I can take and use my color to color it in. So the colors we use, I don't know what you have around the house, but you can use whatever you have around the house. So if you have colored pencils, I have some colored pencils, and I have crayons. I have some crayons. I actually had to borrow some crayons from my neighbor because I didn't have any crayons. Colored pencils, crayons. If you have markers, you can use the markers. And I know we've talked about coloring with colored pencil or crayon to do a big area, because our markers will dry out if we use them on a big area. So I'm going to go ahead and start coloring, and I'm going to show that you can color part areas with the colored pencil. All right, now that I'm done coloring in my piece of art, you can leave areas that are white. I know on my other one I left some white areas. You can use whatever colors. I chose the same 4 colors, and then I had some white. but it's up to you. Whatever colors you have, whatever colors you feel like using, again, it's up to you. It's your artwork. And then at the very end, what do we do? Artists have to sign their work. All right, so that's it for this lesson, and hopefully you have fun doing this. You can do this with your parents, do this with a brother or sister, and we'll see you next week.